All right. What's up, guys? This is Isaac Basten, the national runner-up in the mile. Still pains me to say that, but today I wanted to kind of film some special content. Obviously, as you guys know, Fog and I have a podcast. You're watching this on our podcast channel together, but today it's just going to be me. I had this idea today, really, kind of threw it all together pretty instantly, but I wanted to look at some of my meaningful racing clips throughout my career. Um, whether that's the year I broke out, the year I started to really have success, or this year is kind of the culmination of everything I've learned and putting it all together into a pretty good year. But yeah, so I took my 8 most relevant racing clips and I'm going to talk through those. I'm going to talk through my racing plan going in, whether or not I succeeded with that racing plan, what I learned, and what you guys can learn, and how we can both apply that to our next race. And I feel like even if you're just a fan and you're not really competing, this is a good video to see, like, oh, like what are these athletes thinking when they're going into it? Because it's not just me, right? We all have our different strategies. Some people execute them better than others. That's why some people are national champions and some people are runners up. So let's get to it. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to go through some videos. All right. Let's take a look at this first clip. So this first clip, going into it, this is regionals 2021. Anyway, the first year I broke out, really, this is pretty much my breakout race. I was a 343 1500 at the time. I ran 340 in this day. I got second to Cathal Doyle. And going into it, I thought, I mean, I was the out of 12, I had the slowest PB in the field. I was dead last. I thought I had no chance to make this final. My coach and I were kind of just talking like, hey, what are we gonna do? Because we didn't really have an idea because he was, I mean, every runner in this field was significantly better than I was. It was kind of just about having fun, and coach was obviously spending more time with Fog, better so because he was better than me at the time. But um, luckily, both of us made it out of this race. And when you were not a favorite, and that's an understatement, I really was not a favorite going into this race. A huge important thing is to put yourself in contention without using energy, right? Because if you're putting yourself in contention and you're not using energy, that gives you the room for improvement late when these other guys that are using energy in contention are dying, right? So if you look at Jack Earing up front here, he led throughout most of this race. He falls apart with 200 to go. And Jack Earing's a better runner than I am at this time anyway. So really this shows how important race tactics are. What I did was I got in the back. I saw those little gaps happen. I filled those gaps and I took advantage late when other guys were falling apart. So let's watch this last 150 and see what I did. So yeah, as you can see, Urian's starting to fall apart here. Tim Franco takes the lead. I move around Sharp and Fog. At this point, I didn't even know Cathal Doyle was there, which is what makes it super interesting. I'm looking at Taylor Franco, so I'm out kicking Franco. I thought I won this race, and then when I looked at the board afterwards, I saw Taylor Franco's name, and I was like, or not Taylor, Cathal Doyle's face. I'm like, who's this dude? Like, I have no idea who this guy is. So yeah, I mean, great race by Doyle, great win, but yeah, that's a great lesson. If you're obviously not a favorite in the race you're in, let those other guys do the work. Don't do the work yourself. And don't make any moves. I was in the back. I just gradually moved up. No big moves throughout that entire thing. I just filled the gaps because it's important to fill those gaps. You don't want big gaps opening up, but you really don't want to use those big moves. That kind of leads us into our second clip. This is the next round. So that was the regional final. This is the national prelim. Even more so. I mean, just did not belong, right? Like I'm in over my head racing Cole Hawker, Waleed Suleiman, who are like 350 guys, and I was a 412 miler at this point. I mean, this is ridiculous. Like, what am I doing here? Um, so a big lesson that I learned in this race is to know your capabilities, right? Like I knew I wasn't good enough to win this race. We're all aware I wasn't good enough to win this race. But again, this race isn't about winning. This is a prelim. You're making the final, right? Top 5 automatically make this final. Hawker's in first. Waleed Suleiman's in second here. You can see Paul Ryan in third, Taylor Franco in fourth, and that's Casey Comer in fifth currently. I'm in seventh with one turn to go. James West is in sixth. This is a bad spot to be in, and that's an understatement, right? Because this is a line. This isn't a big group that I can just move around wide, move around all of them at the same time. I have to move around a lot of people. And so I'm just kind of gonna go for it, right? I mean, there's nothing really you can do, but I think a big thing is knowing your capabilities because if I tried to run with Cole Hawker throughout this entire race, there's no way that I would be in position to have a chance here. I'd be 10 seconds back at this point. So instead of looking at Cole Hawker in this race, I'm looking at Casey Comer and Taylor Franco. I'm like, look at fifth. I've got to beat these guys. And while Cole Hawker's 7 seconds for me looks like, oh, I'm done. I'm not done because in reality, I'm only a second or two off of fifth place right now. And yeah, my legs are terrible. My legs are destroyed. But really, it's just about having more foot speed than the rest of these guys. So when we start this video, man, why is this quality so bad? I'll try rewinding this quick. Try starting it over. There we go. That's better. As you can see here, these guys don't have much left either. I mean, Casey Comer's falling apart, right? I'm on the outside. I'm moving around West very, very slowly. This isn't the kick that I had in regionals because my legs just aren't feeling that good. And then a huge lesson you can learn here too is positioning, right? I mean, Reed Brown sprinted ahead of Taylor Franco, right? I mean, in the last 50 meters, he sprinted ahead of Taylor Franco, but he had to cut him off in the process, so he got a DQ slapped by his name. And honestly, there was a bunch of buzz around social media like, oh, Reed Brown didn't deserve that DQ. He was clearly the better runner. I mean, he did. He cut him off, right? Like, you can't do that. There was a ton of contact there. He 100% deserved that DQ. And really, it's just bad tactics from Reed Brown. Like, I've made a lot of moves in my career on the inside, and I would never say it's a great idea. You only really want to do it when something opens up. And here he did it without something opening up, and you're going to get DQ'd for that every single time. Now, obviously this national final went terribly. I'm not even going to show it. I got dead last by a mile. My legs were just completely destroyed. So I feel like there's nothing you can really learn from that other than, I mean, yeah, I was done. But I'm going to show how I transition the success into indoor, this tactical running. Right here, we got one lap to go. Fogg's in the lead. Joe Wascom's in second. I'm in a pretty distant third. I had just moved from fifth to third right before this point of the race. And yeah, so there I am. I'm in third. And here, this is about covering moves. Indoor is. So I was in the back early in this race, as I always am. And the biggest thing I learned when it comes to indoor racing is you can't leave that gap. In outdoor, you can leave a bit of a gap because you have long 100-meter straights to cover that gap. You can't do that indoors. If you do that indoors, you're going to get slammed for it every single time. So I was in 12th early. Guys continue to drop off, and all I would do is cover those moves. Pass one or two, pass one or two, pass one or two. Kind of like I said earlier in that first video. You're catching one or two guys, you're moving around them, but you're not really using that big move until late. And I think I won this race. I stole this one from Fogg and Joe Wascom, actually. Joe Wascom was just breaking onto the scene the same day I did, really. And Wascom and Fogg were fighting for this race the whole time. I mean, one of them deserved it. They used more energy. They were better runners than I was at the time. But something I did in this video was I just outsmarted them, right? I didn't do much. I sat way back. I let them fight for position, fight for the race the entire time. So that by the time I'm about to show you this clip, by the time there's 100 meters left, Joe Wascom has a huge kick as well. Look, these guys have nothing. Like, yeah, Wascom has enough to pull away from Fogg here. But when I move up on Wascom right after this curve, I mean, he has no response. Yeah, right here. He responds for a second, and then he realizes that his legs are completely toast, and it's over. This was my first indoor national championship. This is my first bad race on here that I'm going to discuss. I learned a lot from this one. This one still stings a little bit. Um, this is a jog fest, right? I mean, the winner ran 4:08, I think. I don't even know. I mean, it was just so painfully slow. And I'm a smart tactical racer. I had proven at this point already that I am a smart tactical racer, but I'd only been in important tactical races that were quick, right? That regional semifinal 340, that national prelim 339, that Arkansas qualifier 356. This is my first complete jog fest. And you'd think as a huge kicker like myself, oh, it's a jog fest. This guy's gonna benefit. Like no one can outkick this guy with 200 to go. Well, that's not the case. That really isn't the case. Big kickers don't necessarily love jog fests. In fact, I like if I got to choose the time we ran in this mile final, I'd want to run around four flat because I wouldn't want to run fast enough to the point where I can't hang on, but I do want to run fast enough to the point where not every single runner in this field has this huge kick. And this is just so slow that it doesn't matter if you have a kick. Everyone's got a kick, right? So I really overestimated my kick in this scenario, especially at the national level. I assumed, oh, I can be as far back as I want. I'm only, even though I'm a second back here, 2 seconds back, it's really like equivalent of 5 seconds on a 200-meter track where there's short straightaways. I mean, what am I supposed to do? Sprint to 10-second 100 to get around these guys? This is just terrible tactical racing. So watch here on the outside. I'm trying to move around because obviously I have so much speed left in my legs, but I literally can't. I'm boxed in on the outside by Urian. Here, these four are now at the point where they're 40 meters ahead of me. Right. I'm trying to make up this gap, and I am slowly. Like, look, I'm clearly sprinting faster than the rest of these guys, but there's nothing I can do. I'm on the inside, I'm stuck on the inside. I'm hoping something opens up. Something kind of did enough to the point where I could outkick Nick Dahl. Instead of getting sixth, I got fifth. But that's a huge stinger because obviously I was better than that on the day. There's just nothing I could do. Um and yeah. So this one is the next outdoor conference meet. And this one is the first and only race on here that I'm a heavy favorite. Um a lot of people a lot of people wonder how tactics change when you're a heavy favorite. And I always like to think of them as running them like a prelim. And what I mean by that is winning the race while using as little energy as possible. And in order to do that, I think it's all about the last 50 meters. And that's something my coach has always told me in prelims. Like, hey, if you're already in the last 50, just coast because that's huge. It's going to make a huge impact in the final. But I really wanted to be able to coast the last 50 on this day at conference because that would set my legs up better for the regionals that happens in like a week and a half from this day. And so what I do here is I take control. Great, it's going to do this again. Or I'm going to have to watch the last couple seconds of this one more time. All right, here we go. So I take control with about 220 to go, 210 to go, cut in with about 200 to go. And right now I'm just separating hard, right? I'm sprinting pretty much all out here, just trying to get separation from Jake Gillum and Jason Clayton, who are also known for their kicks. But see, at this point, I get enough separation to where I can look back and just kind of coast it in. Or is that happening anytime soon? Jeez. I actually don't remember using that much energy late. And I actually sprinted for quite a long time, but I did end up coasting with 20 to 30 meters to go, which is huge. Every second that you can coast in, especially in a prelim setting, that you're gonna have those couple seconds in that national final. And when you watch national finals, they're really often determined in the last 20 to 30 meters. So really shutting down those legs and turning them over less with 200 to go when you can, obviously, is a huge deal. Here's another terrible tactical race. And this is from so after that conference meet, I went to the regional first round, got through obviously. Regional final, got through once again, and this is the national prelim going into the national final. This is a terrible tactical race by me. I think sometimes in some scenarios, and in the next clip I play, I race the exact same way as I do in this one. But this one was really stupid. And the next one is super smart, and I'm going to explain why. So right here, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 8 runners in this top pack. Top 5 automatically make it to the next round. And in every single way you define this, every single way, I am a top 5 runner in this field, right? I mean, you could argue Joe Waskins better than me. You can argue, um, you can argue Luke Hauser is better than me, and you can argue Romo is better than me. That's it. There are no arguments for anyone else in this field being better than me, which automatically puts me at 4th, right? When you're easily a top 5 runner in this field, why am I boxing myself in late, right? You box yourself in late when you think, oh, I have to utilize less energy than everybody else in order to make this. But there's no reason for me to do that in this scenario because I don't have to rely on it. I'm too good to have to rely on that in this race setting. In the next race setting, at USA's, obviously I have to rely on that because I'm not one of the best runners in the field, especially when I'm past my peak. But in this scenario, there's no reason for me to leave it up to the inside late. And I don't know why this is so laggy, but yeah, so right here, I should be on the outside moving around. I should be exactly where Romo is. Romo ran this race perfectly. But I had to rely on Petruno, and thank God Petruno did this. I had to rely on Petruno being dumb and moving to the outside, letting me through. I mean, if you're a runner, if you're a runner like where Petruno was, lesson 1, do not do that. I mean, do not do that. Especially when you know you have a guy like me sitting right behind you. That is the dumbest thing you could possibly do on the entire planet. Don't give him the inside because I used less energy than everybody else did to make the final on that day when I shouldn't have even made the final that day. It was such terrible positioning and terrible tactics. I should have been eliminated. But that's a good lesson learned from that. This is the USA semifinal. I was completely past my prime, way past my taper. I had just gotten 10th out of 12 in the outdoor national final. I was feeling terrible. My legs were terrible. I was done. I was completely burnt, right? And so in this scenario, I ran the exact same race as I did in that national prelim, banking on something opening up on the inside because I knew if I had to move around the outside late, there's just no way. Like, there's no way my legs are strong enough. There's no way I'm feeling good enough to the point where I can make that final. So I had to kind of take that calculated risk going into it. And my coach knew I was probably planning on doing that too. Um, and so look, I'm in the inside here, and I'm kind of just hoping that both Davis and that's Grigoric pull wide. And this is so stressful to watch because my legs were so destroyed. Even when I'm kicking, like this isn't me. My kick is way better than this. But look at that. Even with that space that they gave me, I barely made it. Barely. Like that was stressful. So yeah, that in that scenario, it's very smart to do that. And then here's the last clip. This is from the most recent internationals, right? Came runner up by not a lot. And this one will still sting a little bit to watch, pretty raw. But this next clip, this is masterful tactics by me, really. Throughout this entire race, I was very smart. I went in third right away, went out in third. Didn't want to be in the back because, like I said earlier, when you're in an indoor race and you have to worry about covering all those moves, I just thought in my head, I'm too good to have to worry about that, right? I can get out in third and not feel tired, especially when these national finals usually aren't run in 352, right? Like that's just not the way these are run. So get out in third early. The Washington boys make their move, and I'm thinking in my head, good, let them. That'll use up their energy. Really smart of me to just chill, get on the back of those guys, and let them drag me to happiness. No, but in all seriousness, with about 220 to go, I wanted to move around Wascom. I didn't. I failed to do that successfully. And so here I'm cut behind. And honestly, this is just such bad luck because I ran this race so well. I didn't deserve this to happen to me. But so watch here. I want to move wide and move around on this straightaway, right? Look, I can't. The size right on my outside. There's literally nothing I can do. I'm completely stuck. Try to move out wide again, realize that that's not going to happen. Move back to the inside, sprint around. Look, I had to slow down there. I had to physically slow down. It's such a joke. And then I sprint to the inside because Wascom is a clown and gives me the inside. And then I mean, this just sucks. This absolutely sucks. Got out lean by Luke Hauser at the line by 0.03 seconds in a race where I had to slow down in the final 200 meters twice. I mean, these guys are all out sprinting. I had to slow down for them. That sucks. I was clearly the best runner in the field, but and I raced really well. I mean, I didn't lead. I didn't use moves. I waited till the right time. It's just the side being there with 120 to go, me not being able to move wide, Wascom covering my move with 200 to go. It's just nothing opened up. Nothing opened up. And it sucks that I had to rely on something to open up on the inside to win late because obviously that's not an ideal scenario, but I just don't know what else I could have done. I really don't. But but yeah, these are so in conclusion, these are 8 clips that I think have summarized my breakout in the running career anyway. That's just kind of my short thoughts on them. If you guys watching this, if you guys want to send me clips of your races and you want me to take a look at them, I'll do that for sure. Obviously, running isn't a super tactical driven sport like I don't know, like football and soccer and stuff, but I mean, I think there's always stuff you can learn from watching other people's races, watching tactics. And if you're not a kicker yourself, you can still watch this and think, oh, this is what kickers are thinking, and this is how I beat them late, right? So I feel like no matter what, if you're a competing runner, you can learn a ton from this. And I hope you did. If you guys have any questions, if you want to share anything with me, feel free to share it. I'm always answering my Instagram DMs. But that's all I got for today. Thank you guys so much for listening.